I would like to call upon Mr. M.V. Ramakrishna Prasad, Member, Karnataka Public Service Commission, Bengaluru, and former DIGP and Founder Secretary of Police Public Schools, Bengaluru. Welcome, sir.
Very good morning to all of you. Namaskara ellarigunu. Okay. At the outset, I should thank the organizers, Mr. Sandeep and his team, plus 9-1, Mr. Dubey and his team also, for giving me this opportunity to stand in front of all of you, the great leaders of education. I feel I'm the odd man out here because I have never been in this field, but by default, I also belong to this field. Maybe that is why the organizers thought it appropriate that I come here and share my experience with all of you. Before I could go on, I would like to introduce myself to all of you. I know it would be surprising that I, coming from the uniformed services, a police officer for 30 years, always being tracking criminals in my career, but never trained children. But still, there is a connect between my profession and the education field. Because I always believe that if a teacher fails, the nation fails. And naturally, the burden would immediately, or the onus of responsibility would immediately fall upon the uniformed services. So this connect always is there. During the last 30 years of my service in the police, been hunting criminals, starting from Veerappan. If all of you have heard, I was a part of that operation. I was a part of the Homeland Security in the state. I worked for the United Nations Peacekeeping Force also for some time, and worked in a country called East Timor, where the country had a lot of conflicts. And I learned a lesson there. What is important for a country to build, to regain, to come back to normalcy. Because this country, East Timor, after the conflict and strife, they started building the infra. What infra? They started with education first. And I think that has proved them right today. Being a very young nation, they have been really doing well now, because they are rich in lot of resources, but they were not rich in this field of education. So they thought it fit that before they build police stations, before they build hospitals and whatnot, they started building schools. And that has actually inspired me also. And I took up or learned a lot of lessons from that opportunity that I had when I was there. But today, in spite of having such a long career in the police, I feel that the proudest moment for me was when we established the police public school in the year 2008 for police children. Why police should have their own school? That was the question. When the government themselves have got so many educational institutions where there are so many leaders like all of you running wonderful institutions, then why police public school? basically again, it goes back to my profession, where we saw police children getting involved in crime. Then how do you overcome this? Police were involved in keeping the society safe, making all of you feel safe, sleep safe, but they had no time for their own families and their own children. So that is where we were toying with this idea for a very long time, and we thought the best welfare that we could give to our policemen was we start a good educational institution for the police children. So we started in 2008 and we never looked back, and I can proudly tell all of you that we have got 6 police public schools across the state, and we have got more than 7,000-8,000 police children studying in these schools. These police public schools, although for us it is a welfare measure, but we cannot compromise on quality, because our very motto was to give quality education to the children. So then we had other challenges. We had challenges in front of us, as the speaker before me had told about building, how to build the infrastructure. He was talking about scaffolding and building everything. Yes, that infrastructure we had to develop first. So for that we had many challenges in front of us, but luckily for us, we got the support from the society, who were connected with the police for good or bad reasons. They also saw the other face of police, because always Madam started her anchoring today that how do you all, or how did you deal with the Bangalore traffic? See, there is a negativity in that. When police comes, everybody talks about something negative only, but they don't see the other side of police. So luckily we had some people even seeing the other face of police, and they have been very good. They have supported us in all aspects, maybe infrastructure, maybe in any other aspect that we sought their help. So we were able to establish the best of the best laboratories in our school, the best library we have got in our school, and whatever other infrastructure that the child requires. And I can tell you that we are proud that our schools have minimum 7 to 10 acres of land dedicated for the school, which is a premium in Bengaluru. I have never seen many institutions having even an acre of land for their school. See, that is where the challenge is. Schools, I don't believe, or we don't believe from our experience, they only are buildings and infrastructure. It is not concrete altogether. You should create that environment. When you enter the school, that environment, the child should feel happy. That happiness itself will take the child to the next level. So that is what we all thought, and we established the police public school. Now, establishing the school is okay. Then you may all think, why? How does this going to help the police or the society? Yes, again I can tell you, as a police officer, I have seen where the society has failed, where we as parents have failed. Why? Because the child today is susceptible to so many other diversions, especially from the angle of the child's character. There are so many networks which many of us don't know which attract these children at a very young age. And once they fall a prey to this, their entire career, their life is gone. We have seen them falling into networks of extremists, terrorists, Naxals, whatnot. And before the family could realize, before the parents could realize, or before we as a nation could realize, we have lost our youth. So what I would like to emphasize here is that India is not written in its constitution. It's written in our classrooms. So our classrooms are very, very important. So when the classrooms are very important, you as education leaders, teachers, your role is very, very important. If we see that we catch them young and we tell them what they have to do, we facilitate them. We are more facilitators now. If we facilitate them, then automatically we will be defending our country, not at the borders. Actually, the blackboards or the classrooms will be defending the children. So that there itself you have built the nation, or you have started that foundation for building the nation. So every classroom, I can tell you that it is going to build, or it is building the Republic of India, and not what we defend as soldiers, the borders of the country, or what we talk about security of the country. So the shaping of the child is the very first step. That is a very big responsibility that we as educationists have taken up onto ourselves. Why I say this, taken up onto ourselves? Because I feel that all of us have taken up this profession as a passion. Only when you have passion for education, you can be a good educationist. The next two aspects which I could relate from my experience again to education is discipline and compassion. Discipline automatically my profession has taught me. But compassion has been very confusing for me when I look at the education field. After 12 years of experience of establishing police public schools in the year 2020, I thought somewhere my blind spot is that I am unable to understand the child yet. Still there is something missing. So then, in fact, I enrolled myself for a postgraduate diploma in guidance and counseling. Why this? All of us speak of mental health, but exactly we still cannot relate how important this mental health is to the child, or to the teacher, or to the education institution as a whole, or to the nation as a whole. Many people were thinking in the police, why this guidance and counseling course for a police officer? But I will tell you, two things helped me. One, we were then at crossroads as far as security also was concerned. In 2008, the country faced a very big threat. The Mumbai attacks, all of us know. Every state police was mandated to have their own internal security divisions to take care of security. So with all this, we had to establish special forces called commandos. I'll tell you, we look at commandos who are very strong, physically very strong. But I was taken by surprise when we lost a few commandos during training, during action. Many of the commandos broke down. Emotionally, they got completely, they broke down to such an extent that, no, we may not work further. That is when I realized that mental health is very, very important, not only for adults, especially for those in the education field, that is our teachers and our children. If that small signal as a parent or a teacher, if we don't identify at the bud, we will be losing not only the child, but we will also be losing the entire family. Entire family would be at distress. So as teachers, I feel that this is the hardest subject, mental health, which we all have to understand, we have to learn, we have to overcome, and we have to see that today we develop that compassion for the child. We can develop that compassion for the child only when we ourselves understand all these things practically. So what I would like to tell here is that discipline without compassion builds prisons. Compassion without discipline builds chaos in the society. So a good educational institution should have on its palm both these, discipline and compassion together. And I hope all of us are holding these two together, or will be holding, or will have to hold these two things together. So these two things should go hand in hand together. Only then we could actually enter the battlefield. Now, the third message, I use the word battlefield now. This is very, very important, because having spent such a long time in the uniform, I purposefully use this word battlefield because dealing with counter-terrorism, the anti-Naxal activities or the operations, I have found completely families being wiped out for no fault or no reason. Why? Because these networks, the terror networks, the extremist networks, the anti-national element networks, they are very quick to capture the child's attention, the youth's attention. And we are very slow or one step behind in capturing their attention. That is why I am telling you today, this architecture of theirs has captured all the youth, and I am afraid that it is even sitting in every child's pocket in the country today. The content is different, but the mechanism is the same. So how are we supposed to overcome these then? Today, as Sir was rightly mentioning, a few years back we were talking about AI. Today AI it's become a part of our life. Technology. The child doesn't require the teacher's help. Everything is there for him. Lot of diversions are there. what all diversions that I would have had in my entire school life, college life, the child has it in half a day of his school today. So with so much of diversions, how will we now overcome this? We have to live with this. We cannot say that it's an evil. AI is not an evil. Technology is not an evil. But we should know how to use it. So everybody has to become tech savvy. There are so many tools. I'm not a technologist, or I'm not from that field. But still, I can tell you from my experience that the child's attention span is very, very little. Now, we have to capture that attention span of the child. What do we do for that? I don't have any 5-point formula for it or any theory for it. Only from the practical experience, I can tell you 3 things that we all have to take care of. Firstly, the focus of the child. So we have to bring that focus, practice that sustained focus of the child, and which is the best place? It is the classroom. He spends, or she spends, the child spends most of the time in the school and the classroom. So we as teachers, we as educationists, we have to see that that focus is sustained for long. So we win the first step of the battle. The second step, as already explained, the technology and the AI tools. Yes, we should allow the child to use the technology. Guide the child in whatever way, maybe for grading, scheduling, whatnot. There are so many other things that you allow the child to do it. And the teacher now should also be technologically good enough to see that their paperwork is reduced. Once that paperwork is reduced, then as a teacher, you were talking about focus. Now, how do you focus on the child? You are talking about mental health. Now, how do you gain the situation? Now, there your role, or as an educationist, our role is very, very important. We should look into the child's eye, and say that I see you, I believe in you, and I expect more from you. Immediately, the child's confidence levels goes up, trust goes up, because there is a deficit in trust, deficit in confidence. So as a teacher, the teacher's role, once the paperwork is reduced, focus on the child, look into the eyes of the child, say to the child, I see you, I am with you, I believe in you and expect more from you. And you would find a drastic difference in what the child was having or is having to what the child looks for in future. And finally, third and most important one, it is not about the syllabus or not about the curriculum and whatnot. All that is devised, it is very set. We talk about the NEP 2020, etc., everything is there. But we are all forgetting one thing, character. Character is something which is very, very important, and honestly, the child should understand one thing, that whether somebody is watching or not watching, the child should behave the way it should behave. For that, the character of the child is very, very important. So here, for that, if we have to build that character in the child, we as leaders, we ourselves should be in a position to set examples before them. Because every child will look up at a teacher, at the school, at the institution for this it will only see and learn. It will observe and learn. So this is very, very important, and there are several methods for building character in a child. So if we focus on this, I think although tools keep on changing, AI tools or technology keep on changing, but the mission is the same for all of us. That is focus on the child. Then you have to look at the child and build that confidence, and finally the character of the child. If these three are done, I think we have achieved as educationists what we have to achieve. That is, we have readied the future of the children, and they are ready for a world which we are yet to see. Because their world is going to be more challenging than what it has been for all of us. Last, I don't want to take more time. I think my time is over. But I'll just finish off with this one small story in the police. We hunted Veerappan for almost 20 years, 25 years. Finally, we were successful in completion of this operation in the year 2004. It was a God-sent opportunity for me to be a part of this operation, and successfully we could complete this operation and we came out. Because we hunted Veerappan, we could arrest more than 75 to 80 of his followers or supporters. The government was kind enough to reward the team with a very big reward amount of 1.5 crores those days. And each one of us decided that day that 50% of this reward amount we will contribute to our police public school, Mysore. I am not sharing this information just to speak something great about myself, but one simple thing that I could understand from this, and which is very relevant today for all of us. That is why I am sharing this with all of you. At that moment, when we contributed, I could understand one thing, that the real return on fighting crime was the classroom that it funded. Because nobody becomes a criminal just like that. If we saw the Veerappan operations, whether it was Veerappan or his associates, it was not due to abject poverty that they turned themselves into criminals. It was because of the opportunities that they had more, they turned into criminals. And then who is creating those opportunities? It is we ourselves. The society itself is creating those opportunities. During the operations, we saw that the tribal children who are living in the peripheries of the forest or inside the forest, they did not have a school for themselves. Government, somehow they had built these residential schools for them, but teachers were not forthcoming to come because they were afraid. We first ensured the safety of the teachers. We brought the teachers there. We made the tribals also feel more comfortable, and we first targeted what were their issues. We didn't ask them for information about the gang. That is where we were able to win their hearts and minds. If you win the hearts and minds, naturally, automatically, we would turn them into wonderful children or wonderful youth, and that would give us the best results. That is why I thought I'll share this with all of you, because we are the people responsible for all these things, whether it is nation building or nation breaking also. Finally, all with due respect to all of you, you are all very experienced in your field. I have nothing to tell you or give you today. This summit, I think at the end of the day, would be a big takeaway for all of you. So I wish you all the very best for this. But before that, I would like to tell you one more last thing. We all have seen generals with lot of decorations on their chests, police officers. We have seen senior bureaucrats in the country. And we are very proud of them. But I can tell you one thing. I am very proud of who? I am very proud of those generals, those, what do you say, officers, or what you call, who stand in the classroom every day in front of the children. And they hold the future of the child and the nation. So we should salute to all of you and not to the so-called highly decorated generals, because you make the generals, you make these officers, and you make the nation, and not we. So with this, I close my talk. Thank you once again for giving me an opportunity to share my experiences with you. And before I leave the dais, I would suggest 2 books. I hope many of you would have read these books, but I would like to suggest these 2 books which I felt is apt for all of us as educationers. As education leaders, I think you should all read this book, Gym of Leadership by Mr. Anil Khandelwal. A wonderful book where he talks about discipline and leadership. He talks about communication and leadership. A nice book, Gym of Leadership by Anil Khandelwal. You can pick up this book and read it. And another very important book for all of us, because we are all at crossroads today. Who is raising your children? Rajiv Malhotra and Vijaya Vishwanathan, both of them have put it very nicely. So I think these 2 we all have to go through whenever we find some time. Please do it. Thank you once again. Thank you, the organizers.